introduce everybody. Hi, I'm John Abbott. Congratulations for making it to the podcasting webinar, the P2P podcast, where I have two wonderful friends of ours who are dialing in really from the other side of the world, all the way from Seattle, Washington. Welcome, Louise and Kamala.
Hey.
Hey, so great to be with you guys.
Wonderful for you to be here as well, and great to have an opportunity to share a little bit of time with you and share that with everybody who's connecting in with what you guys are doing with this extraordinary competition as well, which we'll talk a little bit about later. A little bit of background, and I'm going to hand over to Patrick, who's going to really work with the two of you in pulling out that gold. A little bit of background: these two started podcasting about a year ago. They started two different podcasts. It was really focused around one of them being the Lasting Love Connection, which is something that they've been working on for many years, and really focused their time and energy into that, and started a podcast that has a massive following, and have interviewed some of the most renowned people in the industry of love and connection, and male and female, Dr. John Gray. Some people here that when you're going to have a look at this, you'll go, wow, how did you even connect with that? And Louise may actually even give you a little bit of a piece of how you actually do that. How do you actually get and reach these people and actually have these conversations with them, which are epic conversations that really build your brand. And then of recent, at the same time, they've also started the other side of the business, which is called Thriving Launch, which is really something that they'll talk about as well, which is how do you actually turn this thing called a podcast, or a mechanism to connect with amazing people and have people kind of following you, how do we turn that into something that's actually financially viable and sustainable, and something that you can actually do as your primary way to go to market and connect with your market. So that's what we're going to be talking about, and probably a whole bunch of other things which I'm sure Patrick will be tapping into. So let me welcome Patrick to the call. Patrick, thank you for being here, and thank you for being our host and our interviewer. And I'm handing it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, John. Such a pleasure to be here. I got to tell you, I've been so looking forward to really getting inside the minds of these two brilliant individuals, these amazing human beings, and looking at what they've created. So, let's just jump straight in. Louise, Kamala, thank you so much for your time. So glad we could all take the time to be here together and be all around the world, but still be able to connect and really, have a look at how you've been able to create the success that you've created. 12 months and, from zero to what you've created now, and the lifestyle and the attraction and the business that you've built. What I'd love to start with is tell us a little bit about, well, I guess really the story, how that happened, how you've gone from nothing, no business, no podcast, to now this global audience, all the downloads that you're getting, and maybe a bit of a snapshot of what that actually looks like. Tell us about that.
You go ahead, babe.
Well, part of it is we didn't start our business a year ago. I mean, been in business in the online world for many years. And what we did was we launched our podcast very strategically, because with a podcast, you can have an amazing podcast and it does absolutely nothing for you except drain your energy and time, and maybe be fun for you to do. And so there are some ways to be very strategical in launching a podcast. And what I do is I help people with launching digital products, and Luis, he really helps people with podcasting, and being able to blend those two together really made it so our podcast launched our business in a huge way.
Okay, so when you talk about being strategic about it, how do you mean? Give us an example. Give me an example of that.
Well, being strategic would be getting the right kinds of guests, and really networking and meeting very high profile people that can really help you build a business, and help you strategically pivot in such a way that you're basically penetrating markets a lot faster than you would if you didn't know that person, or if you hadn't spent some time with them. I mean, imagine the difference that it made for us when we interviewed UFC heavyweight champion of the world. He's been in several movies. Bas Rutten, we interviewed him. Then I ended up doing work with him and helping him on some projects that he was working on, got a testimonial. Imagine what kind of difference meeting these kinds of people and then doing work with them will make for your business. And that's what we mean by being strategical, is we really created an outline of people that we wanted to meet and then just went after them.
Yeah, wow. So is that something, I mean, when we talk about, you know, these guys are basically celebrities. And when I look at the people that you've interviewed on your podcast, these are extraordinary human beings who are, you know, massive global impact, doing amazing things, you know, some of the best marketers and coaches and mentors on the planet, UFC heavyweight champions. You know, there's some extraordinary people there. You don't just Google them and call them, right? I mean, how's that work? How do you do that? These guys are celebrities, like A-list, they're untouchable. How do you get to these people? How's that happen?
That's a big topic, my friend. And Luis, come on, give them at least one way to do it.
You know, the big thing about today's, in the current world that we live in, is that no matter who you are, I mean, essentially, if you want to build a business and you want to build it around fame, which is one of the best ways to create a business and sell a product, because if somebody famous says something, people are like, I'm going to buy it, right? People will take the advice over a celebrity over like a doctor, you know, because a celebrity just has that kind of pull. But here's the deal, is that if you want to become famous in today's world and really hold that, you have to be available in some way or fashion. So, you know, these guys have websites, they have social media, they do, you know, Twitter and all that stuff. And so then you engage with them inside of the different places of social media. If you're wanting like a kind of a fast track way to do this, the first most fast way to get a hold of people is Google them and see if they have a website and reach out to them through their website, because these people will respond, or they have a VA who answers for them. You reach out to them. If that doesn't work, then you go to social media, and Twitter is actually, I mean, Twitter is a gold mine for reaching all sorts of people. I wish I could show you guys a picture right now, and maybe I will. A lot of people won't know who some of these people are, but there's this rapper named Jermaine Dupri. And if you go on Twitter, he's got like 1.5 million followers. And, you know, he's active. People like what he's up to. Because of podcasting, one of our friends was actually able to meet him in person and spend some time with him. Gary Vaynerchuk, I should pull that picture up too. One of our friends sat down and had an hour-long conversation with Gary at his office, and Gary Vaynerchuk recorded the whole thing, put it on YouTube, and within a few days, it had nearly 400,000 hits. I mean, a podcast is just, it's so powerful. And the thing is the guy who met Jermaine Dupri and the guy who met Gary Vaynerchuk, in the world of celebrityism, they're not celebrities whatsoever. They're just two guys that have learned some really incredible methods on reaching out to these celebrities. And, you know, if you want to have a business, you've got to figure out a way to reach people. So why not do a new and unique way, like going on someone's show?
Wow. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, it's not rocket surgery. I mean, I've been scratching my head going, how would you ever get to these guys? And then you just kind of lay it out and you go, well, that's it. And that tells us what we need to do. It doesn't tell me exactly how I'd go about that. And I know you've probably got a lot of wisdom you could share on that, and that we don't have time to cover. Actually, John, how are we for time today? What time do we need to wrap up? How long do we have?
We have 49 minutes left, so we got plenty of time. And if we want
Fantastic. Let's go.
Because I know it's pretty much getting to the middle of the night for them. So we'll watch to see how their energy goes, and if it starts to drop, we'll end it quickly.
Guys, you know, it's really cool to be on this call. I mean, Kamala's and our energy today started like this, and we just ramped up. We did 5 basically back-to-back podcast interviews with people ranging from, you know, CEOs of large corporations to small business owners that are doing something really special and making a significant impact. And
to best-selling authors.
Yeah, and that's been our day today, is, you know, nearly 5 hours of talking to people, plus doing some of our other business stuff that we're only really able to do because we have a podcast.
Wow. So is that a typical day for professional celebrity podcasters like yourself?
Well, look at that. We put in 5 hours, and that's a whole month's worth of work. Which is amazing. Because
we really want you to know that this isn't typical that you're going to be spending 4 or 5 hours interviewing people, unless that's what you want to be doing every single day. But the way we do it is we just set one day aside, which is Tuesdays, and we just interview like 4 or 5 people in that day. Boom, the month is taken care of. After the interview, I spend about 20-30 minutes. I type up kind of some notes about that interview, and then boom, we move on to the next thing. Next interview, do that, and then put it on the website and automate it. And pretty much Tuesday takes care of our whole podcasting end. Then we can work on the other parts of our business. If I logged into Facebook, I could show you right now, and maybe I'll start doing some screen shares in a moment. But I had this guy write me today, and he said, "Hey, I listened to you on a podcast, and I've really, your story just motivated and invigorated me, and I'd really like to connect with you. Maybe there's some kind of business we can do." This is the kind of stuff that starts to happen when you're out there putting yourself out there. It's not enough just to build it and they will come. You've got to build something that then people can find you and see you, and a podcast is an incredible way to do that.
So for you guys, this started out as you contacting these people and getting them onto your show, and now that you've built this kind of celebrity status, you've built this thing, instead of you having to take care of it, it's starting to take care of you, and people are contacting you and wanting to come onto your show and have you on their show, and it's all starting to turn around.
Yeah, it definitely happens. I mean, opportunities keep opening up, and I've been in business for about 12 years for myself, since I was 19, and then I'm having people, since I launched a podcast, I'm having people, big names, big name people that I have just dreamed to connect with, actually reach out to me and hire me for their launches, because my status has gone up because I'm aligned with these other experts out there. And so people are contacting me on Facebook that maybe I've been friends with for years, that their names are just a little too big for me to actually reach out and connect with too much. But after all this time, podcasting has just up-leveled everything.
Sorry I left the room, but I wanted to celebrate with everybody on the call right now, because one of the things that's happened in our lives now because of podcasting is companies are starting to send us equipment. So I went and grabbed this microphone. This is about a $400 microphone, this piece of equipment here. And that's just a small piece of what we have out there. I couldn't grab everything.
Well, there are whole kitchen tables full of microphones that people have, that companies have sent us. This is another microphone,
and this is about a $600 microphone or so. And now I've got more equipment. I mean, there's a lot of equipment, fancy equipment that we've got. Now, you don't need all this stuff. It's just cool because these companies are saying, "Hey guys, we're noticing you guys are making a difference. We'd like to send you stuff because the people want their names associated with us." And here's the deal: is a lot of people think it's going to take a lot of time, and it doesn't take a lot of time. I mean, when I first started podcasting, I didn't know Kamala yet, and I didn't know the online business world. I didn't know business. That wasn't my thing. I wrote a guy who'd been on Oprah 19 times, Harville Hendrix, Dr. Harville Hendrix. Nobody's been on Oprah that many times, by the way. I wrote him an email, and he responded to me. I figured out a formula so these people would feel excited and would incite interest. So then they were.
It took them a year to figure out how to get them to respond.
It took me a lot, hundreds and hundreds of messages sent out, no response. Messages of people saying, "Well, I don't know who you are." But once I figured it out, it didn't matter who I was. It was because of the way that I was connecting with people. And then I had to figure out strategies. What if somebody says no, or what if they say, "Oh," a year later, and figure out strategies so they would say yes now. But here's the deal: is it took me time to figure that out. But once I got really serious about this thing and started using simple methods, and they're simple once you crack them, right? That's a sign of mastery. Once I figured out those methods, in a year's time, we're getting stuff sent to us. We're getting emails. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. I mean, within 6 months, what started to happen is a lot of people were messaging me and saying, "Hey, Luis, I listened to the show. It impacted me this way. Hey, Luis, what about this?" And once you start getting people asking you questions and messaging you, well, those are business opportunities as well.
Yeah. This is just extraordinary. You're there talking about $600 microphones being sent to you from companies for free. I'm just plugging in my $39.95 microphones here, by the way. We've got some crazy rain happening, so I'm on. How all this from a podcast? Oh, well, you guys have got a couple of podcasts. I'm going to get into what they're about, but why? How? It's kind of blows my mind. Why a podcast? How does a podcast achieve all that? Why? So the question is, why podcasting? Why 2015, 2016? Why is podcasting the thing to be doing? And how are you guys able to have create such attraction through just this thing that's like, half the business owners that we speak to don't even know what it is and still aren't even, listening to it. I speak to everyone who's cool listens to podcasts. Right? Old and doesn't really get it, and they're going, scratching their heads. And,
what's a podcast?
What's a podcast, right? So you tell me, what is a podcast and why podcasting? Let's listen to the real basics.
Well, why podcasting is because if you want to have any kind of online presence, it's essential for you to create consistent content. Mm-hmm. And not just consistent content, but high quality content. That's good for SEO. That's good for driving traffic to your website. It's good to keep you in the mind's eye of people. And podcasting is one of the best, easiest ways to do that, because instead of having to sit down and think every month or every week about what am I going to write in my newsletter or my blog, or you have someone come on and give all the content away. I don't have to think about what I'm going to write that week, because people come onto our show, we say, what are you passionate about? What do you want to talk about? And they give all the content away. So it's really fantastic. And then it automatically up levels you and puts you on the level of the person that you're interviewing. And at the end of these interviews, we're friends with the people. Imagine being able to sit down with someone that you've wanted to connect with your whole life, or your biggest hero. And then you have an hour of undivided time with them. And at the end of our interviews, 90% of the time people ask, what can I do for you? Like, is there any way that I can support you in your business or in your, in your relationship or your life, depending on who we're interviewing? And those kind of opportunities that we've been given, we've been given free membership sites and access to digital products and access to physical products and workshops and all kinds of things, just because we've had that opportunity to sit down and make that personal connection with someone. You want to talk about what a podcast is?
That's
amazing.
That's a really big question, and it's funny because YouTube hasn't even really answered this. And so I'm in the process of making some YouTube videos to show people what a podcast is. Real simple. If you have a phone and you know how to record your voice into your phone, if you have a cheap little headset, this is a $6 headset right here that I bought from Amazon, or if you have a nice microphone, you have a computer, if you have some sort of way to record your voice into an MP3 format or WAV file, whatever it is, if you can record your voice, you have essentially a podcast. Because what you do from that is then you take that file and you upload it to a server, just like, like a website you would have, or like a Dropbox. You can host your podcast in so many different ways. I don't want to get too technical. This stuff can be fairly simple. But you just host the stuff somewhere, and then you go into iTunes and you tell iTunes, hey, this file is over here. And so then iTunes goes, oh, okay, we'll put that inside of iTunes. So now when you go into iTunes and you type in Louise Congdon, for example, there's like 100 interviews of people that have spoken with me and have put these MP3 files. I mean, it is really that easy to explain what a podcast is. It's an MP3 being hosted somewhere that then is fed back to iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. SoundCloud and iTunes are kind of your biggest, engines. Mm-hmm. And they're free, by the way. These are free places. Yeah. So you don't have to have a lot of money. When I first started podcasting, I started with a laptop that was 7 years old, a dingy little headset that cost me about $3 from Amazon. And that's how I started podcasting. When I told you I talked to a 19-time Oprah guest, I was using a very old laptop and a headset. you know, and then from there it was like, okay, now how do I upload this thing? You know, and then you figure that out, and then it's like, okay, how do I make some money from this thing? How do I build a business around this thing? And now what we have is we have ways of working this so that it's simple for us. Now we really understand it, and we can help. I mean, you know, one of our guys, one of the clients that we have, I should show you some screenshots. I want to show you something.
Yeah, put your screen share on. You keep talking about this. Let's see these guys.
So, you know, if you guys know who Russell Brunson is, he's a big name in the online world.
He's the founder of ClickFunnels.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Are you seeing
the other guy too? His name's Chris Duncan.
So you have an image of Chris Duncan there. Chris Duncan wanted to meet Russell Brunson. By the way, Russell is friends with Anthony Robbins. He's a big name. He's hard to get a hold of. Chris Duncan came to me and said, Luis, I want to talk to Russell Brunson. Help me. About a month later, they were on the phone talking because of a podcast, because Chris has a podcast, because I know how to contact people. But this, I mean, Chris doesn't have, he's not connected to Russell Brunson in any clear way. And this is what can happen for people. You know, another client of ours, Ryan Carter, I wish I had a picture of him to post for you guys, but he was having a hard time reaching people. So then we talked and he said, hey man, I really need to level up my podcast. I'm not really getting it. I showed him some of the strategies we have. And then he met a guy who's worth over like $500 million and is one of the most well-known poker players in the world. And at the end of the day, they booked a time to talk to each other. A podcast has that kind of power. Marianne Williamson, our friends, went to an event, met Marianne Williamson in person, then interviewed her. And then they reached out to Deepak Chopra. Not only did they interview Deepak Chopra, they met him in person and took pictures and went to his office. This stuff can really change people's lives. It's pretty magical.
But still, John, we've got to do this. All right, where's our podcast? What are we doing? And two, it's amazing that, you know, I mean, this is essentially, it's an audio, right? It's an audio recording. We're doing this. We've got a video bit to this, but we could do this just separate the audio, and that could be a podcast, right? From this.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people do that. Some people take their blabs, their Google Hangouts, their conversations, and just record. A guy, one of my friends, made a whole program on how to podcast just using your phone. Just grab the thing and record into it. Now he's got a lot of different tricks on how to make that really like work, because you don't want bad audio quality and stuff. But it can really be that simple.
Well, the really amazing thing about it too is if you do a webinar, you know, I used to do a lot of webinars and teleclasses. You do that and you record it once and it's kind of gone, you know, and you have to do this big push to fill it up. With a podcast, people can be listening to it for years to come. And you're getting way more listens. I mean, on one of our podcasts, you know, we're getting up to 1,000 downloads a day, which is 1,000 people every day coming and listening to our episodes. And so that, you know, that's way beyond a webinar and having to push. And then imagine that happening for years to come.
Yep.
So you mentioned, you know, how to make money out of your podcast, how to build a business around it. I really want to get into that. And before we do, I just want to finish on this bit. How is all this possible from a podcast where, you know, we could have a YouTube channel, or I could have my website, or I could have my blog, or I could have my, you know, articles that I'm posting, or all the social media that I'm doing. And you guys have got this with literally just, you know, audio recordings of conversations that you're having. And it's allowed you to meet all these extraordinary people. You've been able to build this amazing business. Giving us examples of people that you know and that you're working with, and you're helping to be able to do that for themselves as well. What is it about an audio file that is so attractive to people? Why are we getting such a buzz around podcasting, you know, over the last 12 months? And, you know, certainly it's just growing and growing. Why? What is it about that?
Well, think about this, that you are a big name celebrity, you know, and someone you don't even know,
Patrick,
reaches out to you and they say, hey, I want to joint venture partner with you. You know, I want to hook you into something and I want to make money with you, you know, or you ask a big favor from them. You know, big difference from doing something like that to saying, I would like to interview you and get your information out there to this many people, thousands of listeners.
Yeah, gotcha.
People are just so much more willing to spend that time with you, that 30 minutes, that hour with you, if you're interviewing them, because it's free exposure for them.
Well, to answer your question about the podcast and why it in many ways for us is outperforming YouTube and outperforming much of social media. A podcast is on your phone. It doesn't use a lot of data, right? I can listen to this talk as an MP3, and if it's got a little bit of music and it's just slightly produced, it's easy to listen to, but I can put it in my pocket. A YouTube video, I need to be like looking at a screen. It calls my attention and it demands me, where, radio doesn't demand us. And that's what a podcast is essentially, is it's internet radio. So it doesn't use a lot of data. You can listen to it in your car. You can listen to it in the bus. You can listen to it while you're driving home from work or on a trip somewhere. The other thing too is that so I'm going to give you an example. One of my friends, he got a hold of me and he said, hey, I want help reaching Grant Cardone. Huge name in the business world.
Wow.
Grant Cardone actually responded and said, yes, we're interested. Give us some more information. Now, I want to juxtapose that with another friend of mine who has a very good YouTube channel, and he reaches out to Grant, no response. Then he reaches out to Grant and says, I'm going to pay you $5,000 so I can meet you for about a half hour, right? Grant has to, they live close enough to each other. Grant has to drive out there, meet the guy, be on a set, have all these lights, all these cameras, right? And the guy has to pay him. Now, my friend who has a podcast, on the other hand, dude, all you got to do is show up, be on your computer. We'll Skype it, I'll record it, and it's sent out. We have a camera in our home that's worth thousands of dollars. It's not easy to set that thing up. And then I would physically have to ask this person to come to my house and then sit there in a chair, and then they'd have to drive or fly somewhere. I have to set up all the equipment. Then I've got this huge file that is not only huge, it's really hard to edit. But a podcast is just these little wave files, these little blimps. I'm not dealing with images. I'm just dealing with these little blimps, and I can just go, okay, cut that out, boom, boom, production, add a little music, and send it off. A video is going to be much harder. There are people that are crushing it with YouTube. YouTube is fantastic. Sure. I think that, in the ideal world, you do a little bit of everything. But here's the thing, is a podcast only takes a little bit, so you can get everything from it.
And your podcast episodes, you can upload them to YouTube. So,
you can upload them to YouTube. You can do a lot of different things.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. Cool. So I'm getting three big things out of all of this, and this is probably the best so far. One is that you can connect with using your podcast. You can connect with celebrities because it's easy for them. You can jump on and they can do it in half an hour, an hour. It doesn't take a lot of time. You're interviewing them. You're going to promote them. It's exposure. It's free. It's easy. It's a super sexy proposition to the big names that you want to be talking to. Second thing is it's super easy at a technical level. It's not difficult. You're not dealing with video files. It's not huge files. It's really easy to actually manage this thing, to record it, to edit it, to upload it, to distribute it. All that is really quite simple. And the third part is it's great for your audience because they don't need to be sitting there at the computer blocking out hours of time to actually, they can be doing while they're driving to work, while they're at the gym, while they're, cruising around, doing whatever else they do, mowing the lawn, and just in their normal day with their headphones in, with their phone in their pocket, getting your content, connecting with your people, hearing your message, being inspired, being educated, being transformed, just while they're cruising around doing their thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now. I said it once already, John, we need a podcast. We have to do this.
Hey, Pat,
we're in.
I'd love to ask a question whilst we're in this, because the one thing that showed up for a number of people, and I also invite everybody who's on the call, there's a Q&A box. If you want to ask any questions, just pop it in there. I'm watching that all the time, so I'll push that message through to Louise and Kamala. The question that I wanted to ask was around audience, because if you're starting from scratch, a big question that I have from people is like, if I need to get started and I need to get my information out there, I need an audience who will actually be able to find me, or I need to be able to pull them into my database and then be able to market it out to them. Tell us a little bit about that, because there's something pretty smart around how podcasting all works and the systems that are available.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with an audience, there's a lot of ways that you can just automate all of it. You know, you can set up your social media channels and just do like Twitter blasting and just drive traffic. And also there are other ways, like getting interviewed on other podcasts. And as a podcaster, other podcasts are more likely to interview you because they know that you have a good sound system set up. They know that you are comfortable in front of the mic and all of that. And that's a great way, because the people that are most likely to listen to your podcast are people who listen to other podcasts.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways to utilize a market that's warm and be able to get your reach out there in an even bigger way.
Was one of the things that you looked at, was it a thing for you to find people who already had great audiences and invite them to invite their audience in as well? Is there a strategy around that?
There definitely is, and that's a big part of it as well, because a lot of podcasters, and I just want to be really transparent. You could absolutely have a podcast and make absolutely no money. You could have a podcast and waste a lot of time and energy. You could have a podcast and not have it sound very good, or not have many listeners even. So there are really specific strategies, and that's why we started off the call talking about strategy, because you want to know what your focus is of your show. And one of those strategies is getting your guest to promote your show for you. Because if you have Don Miguel Ruiz, who we had on our podcast, who is a best-selling author of The 4 Agreements, one of my favorite books, if you have him promoting your show, because it's free content for him. Even he needs content.
He can't sit around creating blog posts and interviewing people and trying to run a business and doing a mastermind and having several kids and being married. Like, at some point, you've got to leverage other people. And that's one of the ways that we grew our business very quickly, is that other people started sharing for us. I mean, right now, being on this webinar with you guys, I can tell you that it is because of podcasting that I met John Abbott. It is because of John Abbott that I met Patrick. But this whole connection happens because Chris Duncan came into a group where I do podcasting, and he reached out to me and wanted to chat. So now this whole connection is happening, and I can tell you at the center of it, the common denominator between most of my networking and the leverage points that I have is because of meeting people through podcasting. Somebody there, I wanted to respond to something because this was really cool. Patricia Weldon, great thing. Yes, you could be reaching those busy moms. I love how people over in Europe say mums. I love that. And I think it's sweet. So yeah, you could be reaching really busy people.
You're not in Europe.
Oh, sorry.
Australians say mum as well.
Australia.
I think Patricia actually is in Europe.
Oh, okay.
Well, see, I was right. It was my intuition. It was a man's intuition. But yeah, you can reach a lot of people and give them this kind of information and change people's lives. The other day I logged into LinkedIn and somebody messaged me and said, "Hey, I've been listening to your relationship show and I've been taking tips that you've been giving me, and it's really starting to transform our relationship." Then I logged into my email and I had an email from somebody saying, "Hey, my husband and I are having these struggles, these problems, and I'm curious, what program should I buy in order for us to be able to, kind of resolve these issues?" I don't know these people, but they know me, and they feel safe enough to reach out to us and tell us about their lives. But this stuff is happening on autopilot. I mean,
Wow.
some of the episodes that I'm still getting responses from, we recorded months ago or a year ago, but people are still very touched and honored because, you create something and the lifetime value of that thing could be forever,
Yeah. Wow. All right. I think we're starting to see the value of a podcast.
Patricia said she's in Ireland.
All right, Ireland. You're right.
I love Ireland. I was there. I stayed at Trinity College, and then I went out and visited where Yeats wrote. And then we went out and visited some of where not Ulysses, but some of the other authors and stuff. Anyways, I loved Ireland. I love the rich history. The literature is really incredible. It's a beautiful country. Yeah.
I definitely love Ireland. Hey guys, I'd love to shift gear a little bit here, conscious of time, and I want to get into strategy, building a business around your podcast, and actually making money. Because it's one thing to have this great attraction. It's one thing to have, 1,000 downloads a day. Oh my God, that's extraordinary. But then how does somebody listening to me on the radio, essentially on the online interwebs radio, how does that put money in my bank? How do I build a business around that leverages on that and really go?
There are so many ways to do it. I mean, you can get sponsors for your show.
And let's explain what a sponsor is real quickly. A sponsor is someone that pays you to do a 15, 20, 30 second, 60 second, somewhere in there between 15 seconds to 60 seconds. So not a huge time investment on your end, but somebody will pay you to run a commercial on your show. So two of our friends host a show called Soulfeed. There's a very world-renowned company called Lululemon. They do, the yoga wear and all of that.
Clothing, yeah.
Yeah, these two guys are getting paid by Lululemon to shoot out 15-second things like saying, hey, if you're into yoga and you're into consciousness and meditation, check out Lululemon. And that's essentially their commercial, and they're getting paid really well for this.
And when you say commercial,
and it's not Lululemon interjecting weird sound effects and interrupting your show. It is literally the two guys just saying, hey, this is the Soul Feed, blah, blah, blah. And hey, just a quick shout out to one of our, sponsors. And here's another cool thing too, is people are getting to choose the sponsors. It's not something like, it's not, when you watch television and stuff, you're like, oh man, this is not even relevant to my TV show, right? Yeah. You as the host of your show can decide what companies you want to be aligned with, but that's just one way of doing the whole monetizing thing. I think Kamala can talk more about.
So that's sponsorship, and this is almost like the ad in the breakfast show where the two funny guys are talking and they say, oh, by the way, go and buy this thing or do this thing, and awesome.
Yeah,
it's not like a traditional commercial, and people actually are more likely to engage with it because it's not some annoying interruption.
So that's one. Give me your top three or your top five, or your top, just the best ones.
Another way is to drive traffic back to your website and have detailed show notes. In your show notes, you have links to books that the person wrote. You have products,
or books that other people wrote
that are related to the episode that maybe you talked about, products that you talked about, things that support, like we interview Russell Brunson, and we have ClickFunnels as an affiliate link right there, because people, if they, we're not promoting ClickFunnels, we're just giving them value, and I say, hey, head over for all the resources, and there's ClickFunnels right there. They can buy it, and we get checks.
So let me give you an example.
Well, let me give you an example of that, because you spoke about the Russell Brunson one. I watched that a week ago. And in that interview, he speaks about his perfectwebinarsecrets.com. I went straight over there because I'm running a webinar next. In fact, I was on my way to Perth, and I wanted to make sure that what I was putting together actually was going to work. And I followed a lot of strategies and stuff like that. And then I saw this one. I'm going, he spent a lot of time working this out. So I've gone there. I've registered. I've paid for it. He's sending me a whole bunch of stuff in the post. I'm waiting for that. But he put all the files and whatever else. And now I'm on his mailing list, and I'm following all that. Hopefully you guys get paid for that, by
the way. So here's the thing. I wanted to bring an example home for someone. And since the only person that's responded is Patricia, I want to use her as an example. So you're a mom. There's products in your house that you're using constantly, and there's products that you want other moms to be using, or other moms, don't know about certain books or certain products. So you could, interview these people that are providing great services and education to other moms, issues that moms are dealing with. What's probably going to happen is at some point a company will reach out to you and say, hey, you're running this kind of show. we're, you know, Gerber Baby or whatever company it might be, and they want some little commercial. But also you look around your house and you're like, what books do I read? What books should I suggest? Then you just add links. You go into Amazon and create these little links. Very simple. Amazon makes it so simple. You know, and I'm not just saying this like some people say it on webinars or, you know, this is simple. Like, it really is. You just type in Amazon affiliates and boom, you'll get links. So then you can also look at other products, you know. So, you know, this kombucha bottle, I like drinking kombucha. Maybe I would Google kombucha affiliates, you know, and I would start looking at things. Maybe my guest has a product. This is actually like one of the primary ways now that we're monetizing our show is we interview someone and the guest says, hey, I have this thing I can sell. We're like, great. And then the guest says, and we want to give you some money for every sale that happens. Yeah. Now stack that on top of a sponsor, stack that on top of companies sending you free stuff, stack that on top of, you know, selling stuff for your guests. Like John went over to our website, signed up for something. Yes, we'll get paid for that. Do you see how this stuff stacks up? And there's more ways too. I mean, I want to tell you that there's more ways than we can even. I've seen people monetize their shows in so many different creative ways.
Well, we got to tell them. We got to tell you guys about I know you probably need to wrap up, but I have to tell you guys about the top way that we're making money from this.
Come on, give us the number one.
Because those are, you know, those take some time and some energy to build up. But the top way that we're making money from it is by creating digital products ourselves. So we're not having to pay out affiliate. We're not getting 15% back, or 20 or
40%. Right.
We're getting 100% of the profits, where we package together something that we want to teach about, that our market is keen to, and we promote that on our show. So we have our own sponsorship spot. You know, we can interview ourselves and talk about our product. And that way we already have all the people coming to it, and we're actually selling our digital products. You know, maybe it's a $500 product or a $1,000 product, and we're getting 100% of those profits. And we're already leveraged because of all the content that we're putting out, so people already know, like, and trust us.
And the thing too that's really cool is, again, bringing it back to Patricia, who's a mom. You know some of the issues that our moms are dealing with. You know, what do you do if your kid's yelling at you? What do you do if your kid's really tired? At what point should you breastfeed your child, or bedtime, or all the things that moms deal with? I'm sure that you've at some point Googled these problems and said, you know, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? Well, at some point, somebody lands on our website when they're looking for a solution, and then they go, oh, that's the answer. Let me buy that $10 booklet, you know, and then we say, hey, how about this $20 thing? And that is a real opportunity. So these people that are emailing me and telling me about their issues and stuff, they're basically giving me the answers for then I can go and create a product. 10 people emailed me this week and said, you know, they haven't been connecting with their spouse, and this has been the core thing. Now I just go and type up basically, are you dealing with this problem? Here's the solution, $5 booklet, you know? And it's really that, I mean, you can strategically, it can be that simple.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. So what I'm getting from this is that this isn't just, if I want to go out and start a podcast and build a business around that and make money off my podcast, I can do that. But if I have a business right now and we have products and we have services, the podcast can be a massive, like a funnel, a leverage mechanism for me to be able to not only tap into people who are looking for it, but tap into all the people who, like if I start talking to strategically people that I want to interview. So I start talking to them, then everybody that they know all of a sudden is now coming on and hearing me as the expert on this thing, and start buying my information products and my booklets and my, you know, all the other courses and programs and whatever else I might already be offering.
You know, and you can team up too. So, you know, one of the things that's happened with us is someone comes on our show, we interview them, and then all of a sudden the person says, hey, I'm working on this product. Would you like to contribute? Yeah. Or however it might work. I mean,
which is amazing, you know, because if you're creating your own digital products, most of the time I already have the content. I'm like, okay, well, let me just take this guidebook that's in my membership site, and you can use it in your membership site, and then you get a kickback.
Wow. I was so looking forward to this conversation with you guys, because I knew it was going to be so valuable. And even with that level of anticipation, you've blown my mind. This has just been extraordinary. And what's great too, you guys are teaching this as well, right? I mean, you're doing it, which is fabulous, but then you've also got a program now where people can actually learn and come and sign me up. But you actually teach this to business owners and to people who want to build a successful podcast, how to launch it, how to monetize it in a way that's actually going to work for them in their business with their, all their unique situation.
Book authors too, by the way, because when we think of business owners, we start, we have a mom that we work with. She works with teens who are at risk, and she's created a business around her podcast and really leveraged a show for that. We also work with book authors. One of my friends, Seth Green, he's a very well-known marketer. He's taken a podcast, and using his podcast, he was able to publish a book with very high profile testimonials, chapters that feature very famous people, but because he's interviewed them, he can say, hey, John Abbott, I interviewed you. I wrote about our interview and stuff. Could you just write me a quick little testimonial? Would you be willing to share it with your email, with your audience and stuff, that you were featured in this book? And of course, these people say yes, but he was able to write a book in about a 1 week or 2 weeks.
Transcribing the interviews.
Yeah, so he had a book written, and we can show you that whole process too.
Wow. So business owners, mums, authors, coaches, mentors, educators, anyone who's in this business of dealing with information, with ideas, with concepts, with stuff that's going to be impactful on people's lives that people want to hear about.
Yep. And that's right, Patricia. You better start interviewing people. And we,
Well, once again, thank you so much for the time. I'm glad we could all take the time to be together. And John, we are running a competition, and someone's going to be getting 12 weeks of coaching with Louise and Kamala for free. Can you tell us a bit about that and how we can actually get that?
Well, that's a great one. And yeah, let me just thank Louise and Kamala for just being so open and sharing what you did today, because there's so much gold in everything that you've said, and hopefully opened up the minds of possibility to everybody who's listening into this today. And I know what I'm going to be doing at the end of this is taking the MP3 version of it, taking down and getting that out so people can be listening to it on their mobile phones and whatever else. So thank you for the little heads up on that. And so let's get down to what is so cool about all of this, which is this as Louise said, there's a little bit of a history of how we've connected. And one of the things that we spoke to Louise and Kamala about was, hey, what if we could get out to our audiences and have our audiences potentially connect in with the programs that you run, and let's do that in a way that we actually have that as a competition where somebody could actually win the entire program, where they get both of you, for 12 weeks of mentoring and coaching and guidance on how you can, number one, launch the podcast, and number two, monetize that podcast in your paid podcast program. So number one, I just want to thank you for allowing us to do that with you, because that is so super exciting. And I'm
so generous
to see who the winners are of that and who's going to be joining you on that. So that's really what I want to bring your attention to. There's a link, paid2podcast.com, PAID number 2 podcast.com. If you want to pop down to that, I don't know if I can even put it on the screen over here somewhere. But essentially, head over to paid2podcast.com. I think maybe Patrick's going to get something up and share your screen. And get onto that. There's an opportunity for you. There's only a couple more days from today on that, so it closes on Friday the 5th. Get on there, make sure that you register, and here's the opportunity for you to win a whole bunch of time with these two experts in their industry, and experts in the way they do it, which is really quite unique to what I've seen out there of people teaching people how to podcast, given the fact that they're coming from a place of total abundance in the way that they've created their own ones, and then what they're teaching is what they're doing. So I know that's going to be hugely valuable for you if this is something that you've been wanting to do from a perspective of becoming a public figure, being able to get out and connect with a much larger audience than you are currently, and finding a mechanism that's going to do that, which is relatively effortless, low tech, and really quite powerful in the way that you can now connect in and raise your own status based on the kind of people that you're going to be connecting with. So if that's something that you want to do, then couldn't ask for a better opportunity than right now to jump on there. Thank you, Patrick, for sharing that link, and get on there and register for the competition. There's literally 2 more days to go. There's a huge amount of people already in there, and we're going to be going through all that. And with Luis and Kamala, we're going to be choosing the winners over the next week. So you need to jump onto that pretty quickly.
It's one of the fastest ways to really get interviewing these famous people, building a digital product, getting out there, making a difference in the world, meeting famous people. I'm just really excited. We've come so far, and now we get to share this gift with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the great questions, Patrick, that you put in there, and thanks for the digging that you've done. You didn't let them off at all. And again, thank you so much for your openness and your sharing. You guys are beautiful. We love you. We're looking forward to seeing the people who come through your program, and really looking forward to seeing what gold comes out of that, because every person who's going to come through this is going to create something pretty extraordinary, just like what you guys have done. So again, thank you for your time, and looking forward to seeing your journey continuously as you guys go as well. And already following you on your podcast. It's pretty exciting to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting. Thank you so much for sharing some time with us. And, some of the people that commented and told us about their lives. Thank you so much. It's just, as somebody who comes from the background of working with people, I'm really honored anytime I get to meet new people and find out their journeys. So we're looking forward to making an impact in your life with this course. And
can hardly wait to find out who our winners are going to be, because this is a really work of our hearts. We really want to put everything, and we put everything into what we do, because we want to see people succeed, and we do. We see people succeed every day, which is amazing. So look forward to meeting you guys.
Nice one. Thanks, Patrick.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much, everybody.
Let's go, Kamala.
See you guys soon.
Adios.
All right. Bye for now.